Morning guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to show you how I make I think I've talked about the JADAM. I finished reading the JADAM book, and one of the things they make in there is called JADAM Microorganism Solution, or they abbreviate it to JMS. So I'm going to show you how to make that. Now if you read the book, they run a very large scale farm. So they're making gallons and gallons and gallons of this stuff, and they show you how to make large batches of it, and also how to run a irrigation system with it coming into it to fertigate with. And obviously that's not the case for me, because I don't have a very large scale farm, so I'm downsizing quite a bit. And I'll show you how I do that. All you need are, I have right here, these are some potatoes that were baked and wrapped up in some cheesecloth. I'm about to come down here and get some soil from this leaf litter over here, because it has, a lot of times has leaf mold in it, which is the microorganisms you're wanting to culture. And you need some salt. Now they say sea salt, and I think sea salt is the best, but they also say if you don't have access to sea salt, or if you don't have any sea salt, that you can use mineral salt. So that's what I'm going to use, because I have the Himalayan pink salt. So I wouldn't use regular table salt though, because that's not really salt. So but yeah, I'm going to get all that stuff together, and I'll show you really quick how you get the soil. All you got to do is clear back. Let me move that out of the way. I come in here and clear back some of this, and they talk about getting leaf mold from the mountains. Well, there are no mountains in Florida. So, and they do talk about if you don't have any leaf mold, or they call leaf mold soil, but if you don't have any leaf mold, they show you a way that you can make some. So but I have all this leaf litter over here, and all you really have to do is dig down till you're at the soil, and just get a good handful of it and put it in this cheesecloth, because like I said, there are microorganisms all in this, and it will cultivate whenever you make it. And then you have to time it right when you use it. Here, because it's hot, it's only going to take maybe 24 hours. It might not even take that long. In the book it says that if you live in the tropics, it could take only about 15 hours to finish making. If you live somewhere where it's temperate or it's cold, it could take up to 3 days. And it could also, I'm just dumping this all out, let me turn back around here, it could also require a heater depending on what time of the year it is. If it's cold and it's winter time, like if you live in a cold region and it's winter time, then they show you how to put a heater on it, whatever container that you're using to make it. They show you how to put a heater on it to make it, because if it's cold, it's not going to cultivate. And like I said, you have to use it once it's at a certain point, otherwise the microorganisms die off, and then it basically just becomes a liquid fertilizer. So if you try this and the microorganisms do die off, don't just dump it out, use it as a liquid fertilizer. But if you're trying to re-inoculate your soil with the microorganisms, the bacteria and all that sort of stuff, then you have to use it within a certain time frame. And I'm trying to do that because my soil needs all the help it can get, and because I think I have an overgrowth of nematodes, and they say that this is one way to deal with that. So I'll be back in a second. I'm gonna get the salt, and I'm going to go out to the garden. So be back in a second. Okay, so I got this little 5-gallon bucket here, and this is the size that I need, because I can water this entire garden and then actually get some of my trees with this, using this amount. I don't need anything really bigger than this. Now, if you had a much larger space, then you could obviously use a 55-gallon drum. If you do that, though, you've got to refigure the amount of what you're putting into it, and then, or you could use multiple 5-gallon cans like this, 5-gallon buckets. So, but this is good enough for me. Now I have the salt. There's some remnant like dirt in here. I put the salt in there, so I want to swirl it around to try to dissolve the salt, because they say you want to try to dissolve it. And the salt adds some minerals to the solution, which is one of the things that they talk a lot about. I've also heard David the Good talk about it, Steve Solomon talk about it, like remineralizing your soil. Oh, there's my little, I had a little thing right there and I couldn't find it earlier. Anyways, sidetracked. But talk about remineralizing the soil, obviously because we need minerals, and this is how we get minerals. But plants also need minerals. They don't just need nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. They need other minerals as well, and this is a way you can remineralize the soil. So that's why they say sea salt is the best, because it's full of minerals. JADAM, the book actually, Young Sang Cho, who wrote it, he's from Korea, and he talks about using seawater a lot in the garden because of all the minerals. So that's something you can do. You have to be careful so that you don't burn things with seawater if it's too salty, but for the most part you're safe to go. Or you can do like what David has done, where you actually collect seaweed, and you know, he throws seaweed in his fetid swamp water, and he that way you get some of the sea minerals, because the sea is loaded with minerals. So, but anyways, now you've got the potatoes. Now the potatoes, you need to mash them up, and what they do is essentially feed the starches and the sugars in the potatoes, feed the microorganisms. If you don't have potatoes, you can use sweet potatoes, you can use rice, you can use grains like that, anything that's really starchy. They say that potatoes or sweet potatoes are the best. So whichever you have, I mean, if you've got a bunch of potatoes growing or a bunch of sweet potatoes growing, you can always do that. Just bake them to where they're soft, and then do like this, mash them up. Now these potatoes I've had for probably a month at least, so you know, they'd be no good to eat or anything, but microorganisms don't care about that. So what I'm gonna do is take this, let's see if I can do this without, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna have to do some video magic, so hold on one second. Okay, and with the magic of camera, that's what you have to do with them. Now the first time I made it, I just tossed the bags in there. You can do that, but it works best if you keep them tied up here at the top. Hold on, there we go, it went fuzzy there. But the so you have them both in the water. I'm going to kind of massage this, and it's going to get some of the dirt in the water, and that's fine. You want to release that, release some of those microorganisms in there, and it's actually best if you massage some of the potatoes, because you want the, they talk about, you want the all this to get in the water, and you want the microorganisms to be able to better feed on them. So now if you have, I have well water, so there's no chlorine or fluoride or anything like that in it. If you live in the municipal area and you're on, cover it too, by the way, because if not, that's going to be, you know, you don't want extra water if it rains to get into it. You don't want mosquitoes to start breeding in it. So, but if you live in a, I'm going to walk and talk here. If you live in a municipal area and you have municipal water, what you need to do is fill up the bucket or whatever whatever you're using, whatever container you're using, and let it sit out. I can't remember exactly how long they say, but they tell you how long to let it sit out so that the chlorine can evaporate out of the water, because you don't want chlorine in there with the water, because it will kill the microorganisms. That's the whole point of putting chlorine in municipal water, is to kill any microorganisms. So you don't want that, because you're trying to breed them. So look at that big old carpenter bee. Look at it. Helping me by pollinating my black-eyed peas. They're huge. Those are huge bees. But you don't want to kill the microorganisms. So let it sit out. I don't know if it's 12 hours or 24 hours. You can see my loofah growing here, getting bigger. There's one up here, that one, and there's one right here. For some reason, anytime I get a female flower, I've got male flowers all over this thing, but anytime I get a female flower starting to form, that's what happens right here. It just dies. I don't know why. It never even, sorry, my finger's in the way. It never even blooms anymore. But the vine looks healthy. It's making lots of male flowers, but I don't know why it's making no females anymore. Like, all those flowers up there are males. But anyways, yeah, you don't want to kill the microorganisms. So I can't remember if it's 12 or 24 hours. You let the water sit out. All the chlorine will evaporate out of it. Then you can use it. So don't use it before then, though, because you want to have non-chlorinated water. You could also use rainwater. If you have a water catchment, you can use rainwater. I only have one rain barrel, so I don't want to use all of that up. I use that to water my plants with. But squash and zucchini are probably on their way out. I never got anything because it never hardly made any female flowers. But yeah, you don't want to use chlorinated water. So yeah, and then what you have to do is watch and see, like, check on it, check on the solution, check on to see if you'll find a lot of foam and bubbles at the top. What they say is when it starts to almost look like a pizza, like it's a big circle and it's kind of pulled back from the edges of the container, then that's usually a good time to use it. That's when it's at its peak. If you wait and go after that, it's going to be, the microorganisms are going to begin dying off. And like I said, like they said in the book, you can use it for a fertilizer then, but you can't really use it as the microorganism solution because the microorganisms are dying off. So, you know, keep that in mind when you're making it. If you have issues with your soil, which a lot of people in Florida do because it's just, you know, sandy soil. Let me pull some of these suckers off here. It's, you know, very sandy soil, not really, not a lot of minerals, not a lot of microorganisms. I mean, maybe you're lucky, but I don't. And like I said, I have a nematode problem, and that's pretty obvious with the, I can see it with the plants that I'm growing. If you have nematode issues or anything like that, you can use this. And they say what's best to do is use it before you water. Now, I don't always do that. A lot of times what I do is I dilute it and then water it on. So, because his Young-Seng Cho's whole thing with it is you want the water to help it. First of all, you need to dilute it because it's strong. Second of all, you want the water to help it really penetrate down into the soil and get down deep and get down into the roots of the plants and that sort of thing. So so dilute it. What I do is I just dilute it in a watering can. Like I have a 2-gallon and a 1-gallon watering can, and then so essentially for the 2-gallon watering can, I'll probably put maybe a quarter to a half a gallon of the solution, and then I'll fill the rest up with water. Similar scenario with the 1-gallon can. I might put like, you know, 1/8 of a gallon and then fill the rest with solution. That's a good way to do it. The book tells you how to dilute it. I don't know. I haven't like sat and figured it out. I just do it the way I just told you. So it really isn't going to hurt anything if you use too much, because it's just microorganisms. It's not chemical fertilizer. But the water helps it to penetrate. So that's really it for today. I don't have anything else going, so I will probably use that tomorrow because it will probably be ready by then. I will check it tonight. It might be ready by tonight, but more than likely it will be tomorrow. Tomorrow morning I will use it. I usually fertilize on Thursdays anyway, so I will use it. And I mean, I guess you can call it a fertilizer. It's sort of like a fertilizer, but it's more for soil health. That's more so what the JADAM book is all about, is the soil health. My yam vine is growing like crazy over here, but it's more for soil health. Just like here in this 55-gallon drum I've got here, probably I might actually start using it this week too. I've got some swamp water, or it's also it's basically like a JADAM thing too. It is JADAM liquid fertilizer, but I prefer using Dave's fetid swamp water terminology. So that's that, and thanks for watching. As always, I really appreciate everybody who comes and watches and subscribes and everything. I really can't say that enough. You help me to grow this channel a lot. You help, and I'm hoping that I'm helping you. I'm hoping that anybody who watches is getting something out of this. But yeah, I will be back hopefully next week with another video, and I'll probably also show, I'll probably also show how I use the swamp water and fertilize with that. Now, the other thing with the microorganism solution is what they said was, when you're really trying to inoculate your soil, use it once a week, which is what I've been trying to do. Is just once a week I water it with the microorganism solution. The fertilizer, I'd have to remember, I would probably use it once a week because my soil needs it. But the fertilizer, you can get away with going a little bit longer, especially depending on what you put in it. But the microorganism solution, when you're first getting going with it, to really inoculate your soil, you want to use it once a week. So it's inexpensive to make. All you need to really buy is, you don't have to buy cheesecloth. You can actually use an old sock or something like that. Just something porous so that the water can get in. And but really the only thing you have to buy if you don't have it are your starches. So if you're growing your starches and you have them, then you don't have to really buy anything. If you're like me, I didn't have any potatoes ready at the time, so I bought some, but white potatoes are inexpensive. You don't have to get any specific type. You can get the cheapest type, because all you're doing is trying to use it for microorganism food. So anyways, that's all for now, and I appreciate you watching. I will be back soon with another video. Thank you so much, and don't forget to subscribe. Take care.